Even if you are not ready for the day, it cannot always be night.
Sir, flex I do work. Work 6 I'm like Mike. He's out of sight. Whoa, they got me pipe. You man like Ike. 6 out the spot.
Into the night.
Yeah, I'm shaking the drop. I'm still up on top. I been had the bop.
Following today's theme of the episode, which is the rookie's breakthrough, we want to talk to that young man or that young woman who's fresh out of training. So we want to take a look at actually understanding the terms of objections. We're going to cover types of objections so that we can actually know the difference between a real and a fake objection. And then we're going to give you guys some tactical questions to help you acknowledge and overcome the objections that you'll see in your field. Then we're going to hear from a couple of industry experts from both the solar industry and then the SaaS tech industry as well. And then we're going to look at icons of influence, right? A blast from the past. We'll check out my man Billy Mays and see how this world famous infomercial pitchman has left his mark on sales and how it's still relevant today. What is an objection, right? Let's take a look at the root of the term on when and why we actually get these in our sales process. So an objection arises when the prospect feels the threat of a transaction, or if we say or do something that triggers them, that makes them think or feel like we're like any other salesperson just trying to sell them something. But also, we get fake objections, so how can we actually tell the difference between a real objection and a fake objection? The worst thing that I see is when salespeople are trying to overcome an objection that's not actually real. So we're going to talk about the 3 types of objections that we actually see across all industries in every single sales process. So we have smoke screens, objections, and conditions, and we're going to talk about each and how you guys can recognize the difference of them all. First, let's take a look at smoke screens. In the simplest definition, a smoke screen is a fake objection, right? It's not real. It is that customer's just gut reaction to feeling like someone is just trying to pitch them something to say, hey, I'm busy, I'm not interested, I'm in a meeting, I have a call, right? You're walking through the mall or the airport, someone steps, they want to show you a little trinket. So what do you say without even considering the trinket, without even looking at their product? Hey, I'm busy, I gotta go. It's not a real objection. So what do we do when we actually get faced with the smoke screen? So in the simplest way, the way that I like to teach it is to just redirect it and literally keep going. So because it's not real, you don't want to handle a smoke screen the same way that you actually handle a real objection. You want to basically keep going. And and I'm going to give you guys three just super simple lines that you can use when you are faced with the smoke screen. Hey, that's fine, just so you know. And then you go right into your pitch. Oh, that's exactly why I'm here. Or that's exactly why I'm actually calling today. Or, oh yeah, for sure, which is one of my favorite and most simplest. And again, it might sound super simple, but keep in mind the customer is not actually considering what they're saying with the I'm just busy, send me an email type of response. So you don't want to respond to something that is not real. So you want to say a quick phrase back, oh, for sure, that's exactly why I'm here today. That's exactly why we're calling today. And then you want to go right into your pitch and keep going. Because again, keep in mind that smoke screen is not real. And then next we have conditions, okay? Another big differentiator, a condition similar to an objection, but opposite of a smoke screen, is actually real. It's something that is a vital aspect that determines the manner or outcome of being able to buy your product, right? So I have a deep background in solar. So a condition, to give you guys an example for solar, a customer would have to be a homeowner, right? They would have to actually have a credit score to be able to finance our product. Or those are actual conditions. I can't overcome whether a customer has the cash to buy our product or whether they own the home or not. So a condition is a vital aspect that can determine the outcome of the entire transaction. Not to be handled like a smokescreen and not to be handled like an objection. And then lastly, a objection, which again, opposite of a smokescreen and not to be confused with the condition, is a specific and real concern. So let's take a look at one of my favorite ways on handling these objections. So no matter what industry you're in, almost at any point in the sales cycle, when you get an objection, one simple go-to strategy that anybody can implement is taking the customer, providing them a hypothetical scenario that would take them from a no to a yes. And I'll give you guys an example. So no matter what your product is, let's say if it's a car or if it's solar, completely remove price from the scenario and then ask the customer would they still move forward with that option. So if it's for me in the solar industry and my solar pros, hey, Mr. Homeowner, let's assume that this solar system for you was completely free. our company decided, hey, we're gonna award you, you won the lottery, we're gonna pay for this thing, you won't have to pay a penny, you won't have to finance anything at all, would you do it then, right? And then just sit back and listen to the response of your customer. So when you give them that hypothetical scenario that completely removes price, the answer that you're gonna get in response typically is gonna be exactly what their objection really is, if it even is a real objection. Because the worst thing, or the last thing rather, that you wanna do is handle an objection that isn't real. So before you try to tackle an objection, and we'll talk about here in just a second on specific strategies on how to do that, we need to make sure that this objection is absolutely real so that we can handle it like a professional. So next I'll take you guys through my objection handling cycle, okay? 4 simple steps that, again, no matter what industry you guys are in, that you can implement right away. So step number 1 is you want to agree. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I see sales professionals across all industries trying to objection handle a customer and they just want to argue, right? Like fighting heads. It doesn't make sense if you want someone to agree with you and say yes to you, but you say no to them, or you make them feel stupid. So no matter what their objection is, we always want to start off, once we've confirmed that it's real, by agreeing with them. Absolutely. I'd want to take my time as well. I'd want to do my research as well. You're a smart man. I'd want to do the same thing. Now, don't be confused that just because we're agreeing with the customer, we're not validating their objection, but we have to, as a consultant, make sure that we're on the same page as them, right? Make sure they feel heard and that they feel understood. Otherwise, we're on opposite sides of the table and we can't ever get on the same conclusion that way. So the next is that you want to isolate. Once we've agreed with the customer, we've validated their thinking at that particular time. Hey, you're smart, you're right, I'd want to do it the same way. Next, we want to isolate. Hey, by the way, is price the only thing that you want to think about? Is price the only thing standing in your way from being able to make this decision today? Right? Because again, you don't want to objection handle one objection and then the customer's like, well, hey, now that we got that part, I still need to talk to my uncle, right? My wife, I need to talk to my realtor, whatever the case may be. So we want to agree, then we want to isolate, and then after that, we just want to answer. We want to re-explain something that we've explained prior in a different way. And most oftentimes, just kind of dumb it down, make it simpler, right? So I apologize. It sounds like I didn't do a good job. I typically do 4 or 5 of these a day, right? So let me go back. Sounds like I just didn't explain something properly. Once you do that, once you've re-explained the same thing, we've agreed with the customer, we've isolated to one specific objection. Now we went back in the process and we've re-explained it, right? In a much simpler process. Now we want to assumptively move forward, right? We don't want to ask the customer, hey, are you ready to buy today? You have your checkbook on you? Once we can confirm with the customer, hey, does that make more sense now? Perfect. Now we're just going to assumptively move forward. One-legger question. So whether you're in solar, car sales, insurance, one of the most common objections that all salespeople get is that there's another decision maker. Oftentimes it's that husband or it's that wife. You have one decision maker present at the time of the sales process. You've gotten to the point where you've shown them the price, you've shown them the offer, they like it, they love it, but they just need to talk to someone else, right? So before you let that customer go, you want to make sure that, again, this isn't just another complex smokescreen, right? Which is a fake objection appearing real. You want to make sure that what they're actually considering on thinking or going to talk about is actually real. One of my favorite ways of handling one-leggers is assume you take this to your wife or your husband and you show them what we presented before you today and they say that it's too expensive. What do you say? Now let's think about that for a second. Why is that question to a one-legger in a situation so impactful, so powerful to be able to pull out the truth from that person? Because at that point, you can tell, based on their response, whether it's actually real or not. So I'll give you guys a scenario. If it's for us in the solar industry and the customer says, hey, Rich, I love everything you guys presented today. I just need to confirm with my wife. She's typically on board. And I go, hey, perfect. I totally understand. You're a smart man. I'd want to do the same. Happy wife, happy life, right? But hey, let me ask you, if you take this to your wife and she looks at this total price of what we put in front of you guys today, and she says that's too expensive, what are you going to say in return? Now, the best case scenario of that customer in that moment is he goes, it's not too expensive. It's cheaper than what we're doing now. We're going to add X amount of equity into the home, and now we have a fixed payment cheaper than what we're doing before. I'd look at her like, hey, what are you talking about, right? That's how I know that the customer's on board, the customer's sold on the product, and he's going to be able to communicate the value to his spouse or to her spouse in a way that actually makes sense. Now, I'm going to give you an opposite scenario. Say I put the same question in front of that customer, customer and they go, well, if he or she did say it was too expensive, then we just have to think about it. Let's think about that for a second. If a customer then says that, I know that they're simply just not sold, right? They don't believe in the product, they don't believe in our offering, and they're too nice to tell me no in that moment. So, hey, use this. Before you let that one-legger walk out of the dealership, walk out of the phone, walk out of the dealership or get off that phone call with you, put this question in front of them so that before you set that follow-up on your calendar, you can know that they actually have skin in the game and they're gonna be able to communicate the value to that second decision maker before you guys part ways. Another really great question for one-leggers or two decision makers in any sales process at the end of it is, hey, if your spouse was here right now, do you think that you guys would mutually agree that this is a better financial decision for your whole family? Again, this is a really great question for solar professionals. And why is that a good question? Because again, we put the customer in a state to just give us an honest response without really overthinking that they're responding back to a salesperson. So I'll read the question again to you guys. If your spouse was here right now, do you think that you guys would agree that this opportunity was a wise decision for your family? Another really great line that I want you guys to utilize that's gonna be very tactical for you to use today is, hey, if you had this solar system on your roof and working, and you fast forward 12 months, what one or two things would be different, right? So this is a litmus test. So in this moment, the best case scenario, I'm gauging the customer's response. I want to see, do they light up with value? Are they able to repeat back to me from their point of view on what the next 12 months would look like? So in that moment, I'm looking for that customer to say something along the lines of, well, if we fast forward, we would have put equity into the house. I would have avoided the summer bills. I would have had, a consistent fixed payment over the next 12 months. And then also I wouldn't have shelled out any money for this thing. So for us solar pros, that is the absolute best response. Now, on the flip side of that, if the customer is like, well, I'm not sure what will be different, that also lets me know that that customer is not sold. I didn't do a great job that day of presenting the value from the customer in a way that they received it and felt it and are connected to the value of our product. And then this is a big one, guys, the no same day decisions. The customer who's like, hey, I never make a buying decision on the same day. I just need to sleep on it. Can you give me a day? Can you give me 2 days? Can you give me 3 days, etc., right? Something that we all see all the time, every single day. Here's a really great psychological question that you can put in front of that customer to get them to think in a different way and actually let you know what's actually real. So I'll give you an example. So if I ask the customer, hey, ultimately, if I give you this 48 hours to think about it, no problem. But if you decided against solar, what would be the reason, do you think? Now, what I'm doing to the customer in that moment is I'm actually getting them, without thinking, to go inside their brain and actually give me the real objection, right? So in that moment, the customer is gonna say something along the lines of, well, yeah, if it didn't make sense, it'd probably be price or probably whatever the case may be, right? I'm kind of convincing the customer to, without thinking about our sales process, to give me what they're actually thinking and putting it on the table. A very powerful question for you guys. All right, and so really, it's my opinion that all objections can be broken down to just really 3 only, right? So there's delay, there's a decision maker, like a spouse, and then there's price. So let's touch on the first part, which is delay. So again, I'll walk you guys through exactly a conversational experience if you're in solar and you have this delay objection. So the absolute worst case scenario, Mr. Homeowner, is the system doesn't save you money at all. Another worst case is we consider, what if we make yet another poor investment that doesn't pan out? Then we have that judgment from others. Earlier, we saw that your average usage for your home, and we can see here that the production guarantees actually protects that, and the warranties actually protects you on all sides. So the real thing here is we have to figure out exactly how to make the decision. So I have just 2 questions that I think can help us here. If that's okay, I'm gonna ask them. They're just yes or no, and I'm gonna ask them real fast. Question number 1, Mr. Homeowner, do you think that installing solar panels in general will work and help save you money? Then number 2, do you like me and my company? Well, if you know solar can work and save you money, and you like me and my company, and everything's protected in warranties and in production guarantees, then it sounds like we considered all the vital aspects. Would you disagree? Guys, why is that powerful? So I was basically able to help the homeowner make the decision with all of the important aspects considered. I'm not butting heads with the customer. I'm not making the customer feel stupid. I'm not selling them and trying to use trickery words. I'm asking simple questions to guide them to a decision that they made on their own.